Brought to you in part by Monadnock Flooring and Decorating, offering quality sales, service, and installation for over 35 years on Production Avenue next to Subaru of Keene. Hey everybody, welcome to A Culinary Journey. I'm Luca Paris, and we're going to do a great journey with polenta. Now, if you haven't made polenta before, it's basically cornmeal water, and you can make a really creamy, amazing polenta. A lot of different grains. We'll talk about that as well. But I'm going to just move it to that next level by adding maybe a little bit of chipotle, sweet potato, even adding corn into the cornmeal for the polenta, along with just a creamy, cheesy polenta that I know you'll love. Well, I have Roland Foods with me, their polenta, their oils, their balsamic glaze, and I have some incredible products to put with it. And guess what? Your culinary journey starts now. This is how we do it. I like this. I'm going to get used to this. Hey everybody, welcome back to A Culinary Journey. Listen, we're going to make a couple of things. We're going to take polenta and make it two different ways, really kind of get it to a whole nother level. Now polenta is simple. It's basically a cornmeal. It comes in a lot of different colors, well, two colors. Let's go with that. You'll find some white polenta out there and some yellow. And with the white one, you'll find in a fine grain. You could get a fine grain yellow polenta as well, and you could get a medium grain. I'm using the Roland medium grain polenta, which is incredible. It's quick cooking, and I'm telling you, it'll be done in moments. Great flavor, and we're going to add some cheese to it, make it nice and rich and creamy. That's one of them. It's nice, creamy, cheesy polenta, right? That I'm going to serve with some sausage a friend of mine gave. I'll tell you all about that later. And then the other one I want to make is a little variation where I take some diced sweet potato that we're going to cook down, peppers, a little bit of spice, some red onions, and we'll give it a lot of flavor. And I'm actually going to add corn, whole corn, back into it. So then when you form the polenta or you eat the polenta, it has a full effect and a meal in it. So those are the things we're going to do. Now the thing I need to do first is get some sweet potato cooked down. We're just going to take the skin off. I love sweet potatoes. I mean, to me, it's like the ultimate food out there. I would use it in just about anything. It makes a great soup. Makes a great, instead of regular potatoes, a great side. I love sweet mashed potatoes. And if you haven't tried sweet potatoes, it's a great way to go. I also like keeping the skin of the sweet potato. If you cut it thin enough, you make great sweet potato chips with the skin. Don't ever throw those away. So we'll keep those for another time. And then what I'm going to do is just cut down a little bit. We're going to get it in this pan cooking down to a point where it's nice and soft. Now, I'll tell you a quick little story about polenta. It was probably one of the first things I've ever cooked in my life because my grandmother would get me into the kitchen when I was younger. Now, I wasn't this kid, you know, a lot of chefs will tell you, oh, I was cooking since the age of 3 and walking around with ladles and spoons and knives. Well, not me. I was walking around with a piece of bread and a spoon or a fork where I could eat while everybody else was cooking. I loved to be in the kitchen. I thought it was such an amazing atmosphere to be around watching people cook and do things, but I'd always get in trouble. So my grandmother did polenta the old-fashioned way. She would get coarse polenta, which was a thicker cornmeal, boil water, and then she would take about 45 minutes stirring this big vat of polenta. All right, and she Luca, pour it in slowly and stir and don't move. So about 4 or 5 years later, this is when I was, you know, I was 10 or 11, she was letting me do this. 4 or 5 years later, I caught on. While I'm there for 45 minutes, I wasn't allowed to move. I didn't get to taste anything. I didn't ruin anything in the kitchen. And all of a sudden, I'm here cooking. So she got me good on that one. And hey, you know what? I found a love for the kitchen. I absolutely had a great time in there. But she got me. And now I love polenta, but I like making it a little bit quicker. What I'm going to do is have a little bit of oil in this pan. as it drizzles out nice and slow. Look at that. Perfect drizzle. Everybody, watch the perfect drizzle. Ooh. Yeah, this is what happens when I get an audience, I play. All right. And we're going to take our sweet potato that we diced, and we're going to get it in there. Now I'm going to saute it just a little bit, but I'm not going to caramelize it. Now the difference between here is I'm just going to sweat it down with the olive oil, with a little salt in there. It'll pull out some moisture, but we're also going to add some water to this because I want to cook down the sweet potato to the point where it's almost going to be a puree. So we got that on. This polenta we're going to do later in the show. The first one is going to be the easier of the two, so we'll get that going right away. All right, so we have our sweet potato cooking down. We're good, we've salted it. The other one is I'm boiling just some water right now. So you can do it with the chicken stock or vegetable stock water, however you want to do your polenta. Quick recipe for about 1.5 cups of polenta. Do 6 cups of the liquid, 1.5 cups of the polenta, and you'll make it right every single time. I'm going to do a smaller recipe here. It's going to be a little less than a cup of polenta. I got about 3 to 4 cups of water that I'm letting get to a boil. I'm going to salt it ahead of time, just like I would be making pasta. Use a Roland kosher sea salt, or Roland sea salt, not a kosher sea salt, and we're going to just let that flavor the water. And here we have the other polenta cooking, the other sweet potato cooking. So we got that going on. This one we're going to do the chicken stock in. You'll see what we do with that too. All right, so that's all I need there. I'm starting to get it to a rolling boil. There are 2 schools of thought. Again, she always made me use a wooden spoon. I like using a whisk. It's going to incorporate it quicker and faster. So as this is starting to come to a boil, what I'm doing is taking the medium grain polenta, which is also considered quick cooking. It's not an instant polenta. They have those boxes that are instant cornmeal polentas. It's not instant. It's medium grain, quick cooking. And I'm just going to add it to the water. Now seriously, this is all you really have to do. And I could dump it a little bit faster, but something in me makes it go slow. And yeah, I think it was all those years of being in the kitchen doing that. And basically what I'm going to do is get this in here and let this cook down. Now cornmeal, it's funny because I grew up in a family where I'm from northern Italy. And I grew up in a family where cornmeal was part of our entrees in a lot of ways. I have a couple of stories that we would cook every Sunday, polenta in the winter, because we would serve it with coniglio, which would be rabbit, sausage. You serve it with just about any other meat, but this is your side dish. And sometimes, and there's a show I did with my mom not too long ago, we actually made a dessert out of polenta called Tortone. And I've made this with my daughter too. It's really incredible. So this takes about 8 or 9 minutes after it's boiling to really start coming together and solidifying. What I'm going to do with the sweet potato, it's dried up all the oil. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. And I want to put in some of my chicken stock in there because I'm really going to have these cooked down. There you go. The sweet potato is now really going to take all that chicken stock. It's going to absorb it and get soft. And the polenta, I'm going to turn on medium heat. And I'm cooking right here. I'm going to get the rest of this in here. And we're going to start cooking that down. But definitely we want to make sure all the clumps come out. You want to make sure it doesn't have this, oh come on, don't go all the way down. You want to make sure it gets rid of that grainy flavor or texture. The graininess in it is because you're cooking down the cornmeal. And really that's it. If you like making grits, it's a lot of the same process as grits. So now I'm going to turn this down, let it kind of settle, stir it every once in a while. You notice I don't leave it alone for too long because you really don't need to. But you definitely need to take it away from the heat so it doesn't over bubble and it starts splattering everywhere. So let's just shut that off for a second and we start bringing it around. Now this is starting to cook down. Now really, seriously, that's all you really need to do. It's really quick. There's flavor in there. Okay, it's just water, but if we did stock, it would have a lot more flavor. But now I really want to give this flavor. I want this thing to really shine, okay? So this is where I bring in some of my good friends, which are cheese. I like doing a recipe with mascarpone, but mascarpone is not something you find everywhere. So cream cheese works just as nice. It's going to give me a real creamy background texture for the polenta. And all of a sudden, once it goes in, and it's already a creamy dish, all of a sudden, once this goes in, it's just going to bring it to that next level. So I start whisking that in. And what's great about the cream cheese, it starts melting right away and becoming part of the whole thing. So we got cream cheese in there. I never said this was going to be a healthy dish. Wait till you, cheese, butter. Oh, it's so good. So many things you could do with this. So we have the cream cheese cooking in there. Let me bring it back up. And now what may happen sometimes is, let's say you throw off your measurements and you put a little too much cornmeal to water ratio, cornmeal to liquid ratio. Well, we could fix that. I mean, we could add some more water as we go along and then just kind of break that down. Add a little bit of milk or cream to that. It'll just give it nice and creaminess, rich texture again. So I like to check right now to see if I've dissolved most of the grain. And hold on, don't go away. Check, beautiful. And now I'm starting to give it flavor. So I have my cheese in there. I'm going to add a little bit more salt in there because I need some more salt. And then this is where I'm going to add another level of cheese, Munster cheese. Now, I love Munster cheese. You can put whatever cheese you like in there. I just love the flavor of it. I love what it gives to any dish I cook with. And we're going to just chop that up and put that in there. So, in this polenta right now that I'm letting cook down, I have Munster cheese. I have a cream cheese. We are going to definitely give it some butter near the end, but it's pretty much done. What I'm doing into it is just enhancing it at this point, and I'm giving it all that much flavor. So I'm going to let the Munster cheese melt in there. While that's melting in there, I'm going to take a quick break, make sure we cook down our sweet potato really nice so we get that to a puree. We'll start getting our other ingredients together for our second polenta, and I'll show you our sausage. So don't go away. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back to A Culinary Journey. I'm doing a couple of things here. Cooking down my sweet potato that I'm going to be using in my polenta for the second one. We're finishing up this polenta. Now, what's great about this is you could serve it a couple of ways. What we can do is, hold on a second, I want to get a cover on top of this thing. What we can do with this polenta, will you fit? Yeah, you fit. We could do with this polenta, we could actually put it maybe in cupcake molds and cool it, or just in a baking tin and cool it, and then we could save it and use it later on. So we'll cool it, pull it out the next day, cut squares, pop it in a pan or on a grill, warm it up. It's a great way. Or what we always did in our house is serve it just the way you see it. It's always been like a creamy, rich polenta. And in that case, what we'll do is just take some out, put it on a plate. Now, my father grew up in Italy, in central Italy during the war. Look how rich and creamy that comes out. Look at that, that's amazing. During the war, he grew up in central Italy. And when, this is World War II, in case you thought I was really young, I don't know. And when they would go to eat, they would only really have cornmeal and maybe a couple pieces of sausage. Now, they were a big family. So what his mom used to do is they take a board, cutting board, not much smaller than this one, and do a big vat of polenta. Pour the polenta down. Now, once it settles, you can almost cut it with like a wire, and it has a nice look. But they pour the polenta down in the board, and they'd get the whole family around it. And I've always loved this story from the whole family around it. Then they'd have like 2 or 3 pieces of sausage. That's all they could afford. That's all they could find. That goes in the center of the polenta. You know who got the sausage? Whoever got through the polenta first. You'd start here, and you'd have to eat your way through the polenta to the sausage, and if you were there first, you could take the sausage, but you couldn't take it before then. And it was really cool. And he tried to do that at our house once. I just stuck my fork in the sausage and I walked away. I was like, I'm not waiting. But it shows you just that, this is one of those inexpensive peasant foods that are out there that are really yummy and but have come so far and done so much. So we got that going. So we have our polenta. You know what I need? I need Robin to do me a favor, who's my helper and friend over here. Robin, I need another cup of polenta like the one I just handed you the paper for while I get this all together, the glass for. So, what you guys don't have at home, I just need that filled with cornmeal. Do you know where that is? It's right over here, Rob. There you go. I have the box open already. What you don't have at home that I have in your kitchen is someone you could go, hey, can you go get me that? All right, over here I'm cooking up some blueberry sausage. This is duck and blueberry sausage. Oh, you settle down there. Now what I'm doing is kind of steaming it, kind of pan frying it, letting the fat really come out in the sausage into the pan. I'm going to shut that down because it'll be ready before we're ready to serve it. Now this duck and blueberry sausage comes from a friend of mine, Michael Fenster. He makes it in Tampa, Florida. He makes his own duck and blueberry sausage. He sent me up some. He said, try it out. You're going to absolutely love it. So I'm serving it with my polenta, and we're going to show you that later. Here for the polenta, I really am only going to do a couple of things to do. I'm going to garnish it with some more cheese. Why not? A little bit of salt on top. And then maybe just some sprigs of parsley that I'll chop up. Let me move you over for a second and then chop it up. Now that is a great, great dish to just serve as a side. Creamy, cheesy, yummy. And I'm going to do one more thing to it. What do you think I'm going to put on there, guys? What do you think I would want to put on there? I'm going to put a little bit of butter and let it just melt on top. Just a little bit of butter. All right? And then that's my polenta for that. So we're going to let that stay out of the way while we work on our next one, which is really simple. So now we have our sweet potato, and they're kind of breaking down. Now I'm going to leave the sweet potato whole. You could do them as a puree, or you could do them whole. If I wanted to, I could do it as, just puree this right here. What I'm going to do is add the rest of our, get this up on high because we want to get this to a boil. Okay, we got our chicken stock in there, and then we're going to add our polenta when that starts boiling. But we want to add a couple of other items to this. First, really fresh corn. Now I'm not blanching or cooking the corn ahead of time. I'm just putting the kernels in fresh and delicious. Really, for me, when you're enjoying corn, it's really about, if you get a super fresh piece of corn, you could eat it raw and it's going to be incredible. What I like to do is take corn when it's really in season at the right time and add it to my cornmeal just the way it is, because it's going to blanch a little bit while we're cooking it, and then it's going to just add more flavor, more of that beautiful sweet corn flavor into our cornmeal. So we'll just pull it right off the sides. All right? We're going to get that into here with our sweet potato. Now that's what it is. If you wanted to go, you go two ways with this. If you took my first recipe with the creamy cheesy polenta and then added ingredients afterwards, almost like you would do in a risotto or even a pasta, you can do that. If you wanted to take your ingredients and do them before, like I'm doing, where you're infusing all those flavors ahead of time, you could do that as well. So you have a lot of great options here with the cornmeal. Now, we're going to let that come to a boil. I'm going to add a couple more items that are going in there. Again, I'm not cooking these down. I want texture. And this cornmeal, or this polenta, works best if you wanted to serve it the next day as like a polenta cake that you're going to be putting underneath something. And again, I like it served fresh, but it's totally up to you. All right. So we're going to cut some red peppers, which will cook down as we're cooking down the polenta. All right, we got those in there. And then, you know what, I was going to do red onion, but I think we're going to be fine the way it is. You can put pretty much anything you want in there. I love this. Hold on, I need to try this because this looks really good. Da-da-da. And look at that. Holds together nicely. Absolutely beautiful. Mm-hmm. You're all jealous. That's good stuff. It's pretty cheesy. All right. And, oh yeah, the last thing. One of my most important things to do. My Chipotle paste. Now, if you like a little spicy, getting a smoky jalapeno like this, the Chipotle, buy these in cans as well. What I'm doing is taking the pepper that's in there and then a little bit of the adobo sauce, and I'm adding it to this dish. There you go, just a little bit. And depending on how much you like it, you could put more in there if you like. A little bit more salt, and we're ready to go. And this thing looks like it's coming together. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. We start adding, we already have a polenta whisk here. Start adding our cornmeal to my mix. As I'm doing this, we're going to take a quick break because you know what's going to happen. This will turn into a creamy, rich polenta with all these great flavors. As I'm adding this, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll plate up both of these with the duck sausage that I've been cooking off, and we'll just have a party. I'll see you in a culinary minute. Thank you, guys. Welcome back, everybody. You see, and there's no meat on this show either. They're just getting excited over cornmeal. I mean, it's crazy. All right, so we made polenta today. We made cornmeal, brought back a little bit of a lot of memories of my childhood and my dad and my grandma, which is pretty awesome. We did one that I did right over here. It's kind of like a cheesy, creamy polenta. Great as an accompaniment to mostly everything, especially with a fish, sausage, meats. I mean, it's there for everything. Absolutely love it. And then this one, we kind of went to a different level with it. Made it a little spicy. We have corn, peppers, a little bit of the adobo and the smoky jalapeno in here, the chipotle, and some sweet potato. So I got those. We're going to put that nice and rich and yummy right here. And then we're going to take that sausage we cooked up. My good friend Michael Fenster, he made this blueberry sausage, and we're going to put that on there. Let's see. Get a piece that's open. It's duck and blueberry sausage over the polenta. One last finish, that duck, blueberry, all that, I want to give it a little bit of extra sweetness. I have this Roland balsamic glaze. It's a reduction of balsamic vinegar in a glaze. And I'm just going to cover the top of that. And one more thing, because I just can't let it go right there. Some ricotta salata cheese right there, you know, just right over the top. Some more cheese. Yeah, I think I did more cheese on this show than I do on most shows. And there you have it. So polenta really has a whole different lifestyle to it that we don't know about. We think of it as a cornmeal or cornmeal mush or what have you. And it really is more than that. So whether you let this chill and then cook it the next day, which you could hold it for a good amount of time for a side dish, or make it part of a really incredible meal, soft, you'll be very happy with the polenta. So I hope you had a good time. I had a great time making it. Thank you, Roland Foods, for giving me some great product to work with. And I guess, guys, I'll see you next time on A Culinary Journey. Brought to you in part by Monadnock Flooring and Decorating, offering quality sales, service, and installation for over 35 years on Production Avenue next to Subaru of Keene.